Hey there, my name is Bartosz Kawarecki, or you can call me Bartos. I'm the owner of Vitas Home Care, a home care company based here in Lansing, Michigan. And I want to talk to you briefly about the difference between having an individual provider care for you versus going through an agency to find a caregiver. Now, there are three major advantages to having a caregiver through an agency than from having an individual provider. The first reason for having a caregiver through an agency is that an agency should typically have many different caregivers. So if one caregiver is sick or can't show up to work, then the agency can usually find a substitute caregiver that can come in their place. Whereas if you have just an individual provider that's caring for you, if they can't show up, if they're sick, then you don't really have a lot of other options. The second reason why it's advantageous to go through an agency is because the caregiver through an agency will be paid more than a caregiver that is an individual provider. An agency gets paid an agency rate from the Department of Health and Human Services, and they can afford to pay a caregiver anywhere between minimum wage, but they can pay all the way up to $11, $12 per hour, whereas an individual provider that goes directly through DHS can only be paid minimum wage. The third main advantage for having a caregiver from an agency versus going through an individual provider, again, it's easier for the caregiver as well, because the agency takes care of all the paperwork for you as the client, and the agency can talk to caseworkers from DHS and make sure that everything is running smoothly, that your case stays open. And on the caregiver's part, the agency fills out the invoices and the other paperwork that's involved, log sheets, things like this. Whereas an individual provider, they have to fill out these boxes, these log sheets, and submit them to DHS by themselves. So the difference between what an individual provider really is a person that is contracted with DHS directly to care for a client, such as a grandma, grandpa, or a disabled person. Whereas a caregiver through an agency is a caregiver that is, hired by the agency to care for also elderly and disabled people. The difference is who the contract is with. So in the agency's case, the agency is contracted with DHS, so the agency takes on the liability, and the caregiver then is simply hired by the agency, whereas an individual provider works directly with DHS. In some cases, it might be easier. Maybe there isn't an agency around for an individual provider to be hired. However, there are some major advantages to going through an agency versus just having an individual provider. I hope that this video helps and perhaps provided some value, maybe helped you make a decision. Again, there's more information in the description about the home health program in general, and there are I have other YouTube videos in this series that go more in depth about the actual home health program, but I wanted to tackle this specific question because there are individual providers and there are also caregivers that go through agencies, and clients go through both. There are also some very small nuances where once a person is an individual provider, they're kind of stuck there, because if an individual provider that's working directly through DHS can't switch to an agency right away, they have to wait 90 days without pay before they can work for an agency. And this can be problematic for the caregiver, because for some people it's impossible to go 3 months without pay. This could very well be someone's main source of income. So there are many advantages to going through an agency and starting off through an agency right away versus trying to do it on your own as going through an individual provider. And again, if you have any questions, there's some contact info in the description, and I hope this helps, and have a nice day. Take care.